Chelsea Football Club have started this season pretty well. The only defeat was to Manchester City in a game which I think they played pretty decent in, to be fair. I thought Lavia was super impressive, then he got injured again. But I think Chelsea are dangerous, and I predicted Chelsea, I think, to finish 7th or 8th. I predicted them below Manchester United, below Newcastle United, and that wasn't because I didn't rate them. I thought they had some great players, and I thought Maresca was going to be another Arteta where he needs time, where Arteta came 8th, 8th, 5th. But Maresca's proven in such a short period of time how adaptable he is, what he can do, and I think Chelsea can break the top 4. I didn't think, Maresca was going to hit the ground running. I thought he was going to have some struggles, but I thought if Chelsea gave him the time and patience, which I didn't know if they would, it could work out because I think that Chelsea have some good players. But I think Chelsea have looked the best team outside Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City this season. And I'm going to break that down. I'm going to break down what's impressed me about Chelsea, particularly their attack and the options they have. And why, as a United fan, I'm a bit worried. I think Chelsea might finish above us this season, but they're playing good football. They've picked up the second most points after Manchester City since the beginning of May. So they are kind of a form team, despite that being two different managers there. One thing about Maresca was he didn't adapt and change much at Leicester, but he's showing that so far at Chelsea, and only 5 Premier League games in, but I think Chelsea look quite good. You are 5th in the league. I think that's very fair where you are. Only 1 point behind Arsenal, and you've had to play Manchester City as well. I mean, Brighton's going to be a tough challenge for you, but if I look at your fixtures here, I think that you guys have played well. I don't think you were bad versus City. You didn't embarrass yourselves. Haaland's just not normal. Obviously, didn't watch the game against Servette. I didn't watch the Europa League Conference playoffs. So I'm not going to talk about them. Wolves, I mean, there was times where I think you did look vulnerable in defence versus Wolves, and Wolves could have scored a few more, but you showed how lethal your attack was. Crystal Palace 1-1 draw. You dominated them, and Eze scored a worldie. Basically, you should have took 3 points away from Crystal Palace because you deserve 3 points. Bournemouth, you got a decent result in the end. Bournemouth, more difficult game than people think. And then West Ham, you absolutely played them out the park. Now, West Ham haven't been particularly good, but you've got to give Chelsea credit for that. So let's break down Chelsea, and particularly their attack, because I think your attacking depth is a joke. And Invert the Wing said this: going to Jackson, Palmer, to Nkunku, Felix, Chelsea fans must feel blessed. Some of the best attacking depth, not just in the league, but the world. Think that's brilliant how both pairings just understand so well. A lot of depth options don't mesh well together, not in the case here. And I agree with this guy, and I don't agree with a lot of the stuff he says on Twitter. I think he waffles a bit, but I agree with this. You've got Jackson and Palmer, and then if you want to rotate, you've got Nkunku and Felix. The level and quality there, in terms of retention, Nkunku, Felix, in terms of directness, technical ability, you've got elements of both in Jackson and Palmer. You've got this great pairing. Jackson and Palmer seem to have an understanding of each other. They seem to always assist each other's goals. Nkunku and Felix had a good understanding. Obviously, I know he played Barrow, but he got a hat-trick. The depth is there. You've got Neto, who I rate. You've got Madueke, who I think he's hit and miss, but I think you know how good he can be when he's in form. Sancho, if you get the Dortmund Sancho, there's a good player there as well. Cole Palmer can always play on the wings if need be. I think the depth there, particularly in the central areas of attack, is absolutely unreal, particularly Nicolas Jackson. Now, I said this last year. I said that Jackson's becoming one of the most underrated players in the league. Yes, he misses a few big chances here and there, but his all-round play has been fantastic, and his output is very good. 13 games, 13 goal contributions is pretty strong output from Nicolas Jackson. I think he is definitely one of the most underrated players in the league. And if we dive into more about this, you can see with Jackson, he's a transitional threat. 1v1 dribbling is fantastic. This is what I wrote about him back in March, by the way. Makes his teammates better, so helps attacking patterns of play. Link up is one of the best. IQ and understanding of game movement is top. Can play left wing if needed. Very good work off the ball. Chelsea look a better sub with him in. And his all-round play is good. And obviously I'm a Man United fan, so I relate everything to Man United. But I've been talking about Joshua Zirkzee and how whenever he's on the pitch, Manchester United's attack looks better because he can link up the ball, he makes runs, he presses, his movement is good, he can provide outlets out wide. Joshua Zirkzee hasn't got the goals yet, but when Joshua Zirkzee comes off the pitch, Man United look worse. And I think while Nicolas Jackson doesn't always finish it, he seems to make everyone around them better. In my opinion, I think the Chelsea team looks better with Jackson on the pitch. And yes, his finishing has been iffy, but as an all-round player, he's one of my favourite players to watch because he's a transitional threat. He can dribble, he can pass, he can press, he can link, he can create space, and his output is decent, and he's young and he's going to improve. And I said this, Moises Caicedo and Nicolas Jackson are the two most overhated players. They were your two best players in your last match of the weekend. And I think they're the two most overhated players in the Premier League because the media sort of runs this agenda that Jackson misses sitters and he's not good. And that's why you wanted Victor Osimhen and that, Caicedo's 100 million flop. But if you've watched Caicedo since I'd say December time, he's been pretty good for Chelsea. I think he's been your best midfielder since December time as well. And if you watch Jackson, you know that there's a good player that makes Chelsea better. And I think that he's a very underrated player. You look at obviously Chelsea beating Barrow 5-0. It is obviously Barrow, but again, the confidence that's going to do to the players, the returns. But you can see how good the rotation options are at Chelsea. So let's go into this. Now, I want to talk about Nkunku. This is something, again, I wrote about Nkunku in pre-season. I feel like he's the forgotten man at Chelsea. 3 goals in pre-season, showed his sharpness. I think he suits the 8 role better than the 9 role, but I think he can also play as a 9. I think he could play in the middle with Cole Palmer out wide. And then Reece James and Gusto overlapping, I think, would work really well. But you can see why Cole Palmer is the guy central in Maresca's system, because he does like fast wingers that can hold the touchline, and Cole Palmer can be the facilitator to that, and it's working really well in Maresca's system. But I think he's an intelligent player that can play across the front line, is press resistant, can retain the ball well. His ball retention ability to find space is going to help Chelsea unlock low blocks, but also control games a lot better. I think if they are 2-0 up and they need someone that's going to control the game, it's not going to get the ball away, just help with that element. I think he's a really good option to have off the bench as well. His passing range to pick out a player is good. Whenever he's come on for Chelsea, he seems to score, get an impact. Like, his numbers for Chelsea per minute are very good. The problem is, I think Cole Palmer and Jackson are your best pairing centrally, and I think that's where Nkunku plays his best centrally rather than out wide, so it's finding a way to get him in. But it doesn't stop there. Now, Chelsea have signed a lot of youngsters, and this guy's obviously not going to join until next year. And you've signed so many youngsters, I think people forget. But I say Esteval is a different level of youngster. I did a video on Esteval 6 months ago and I said he'll be better than Endrick. I believe, from the very little of Palmeiras that I watched when I was doing some research, that this guy stood out to me more than Endrick. Endrick was the hype guy, he was the Real Madrid guy. But this guy coming into Chelsea, I think, is a Ballon d'Or ceiling talent. He's the best young talent they've got coming in, followed by Paez. 22 matches, 9 goals, 7 assists, 16 goal contributions, and 8 big chances created in 22 matches at his age. That's better numbers than Endrick, and he looks fantastic. He's starting to get, opportunities, noticed more in Brazil. I think he is the best up-and-coming youngster in South America, and you're going to add him in. You're also going to add Kendry Paez in. That's another, probably in top 5 best youngsters coming up as well. You've got some amazing players coming into your attack. They can potentially play on the wing, challenge Madueke, challenge Sancho, challenge Neto, challenge Madueke. But let's talk about Cole Palmer. I don't really know what to say about Cole Palmer because I've spoke about him. I think everyone knows he's good. I think everyone knows he's a world-class player. He can play out wide. He did that a lot in Poch's system. I think when he plays out wide, his goal numbers will be higher. Now he's playing in the middle. I expect his assist numbers to be high, but his goal numbers to go down a bit because he's basically playing in the middle and the Madueke will be out wide or Neto will be out wide and he's going to play out the ball to them and facilitate them. He's going to facilitate the runners, Jackson, Madueke, Neto, and I think it's going to work really well. He's going to pull the strings. He's going to get the assists. I think he could break the assist record this season. I generally think he could. If you look at his metrics so far this season versus all other Premier League midfielders, he's first for expected assists, first for assists, second for average pass length, third for shot assists. There's a fly playing here. Fourth for key passes. So you can see his numbers in terms of creativity, assists, key passes, obviously ranked among the best as well. Progressive passes. You can see that his role's a bit different, but he's definitely pulling the strings a little bit there. And I wrote this about Cole Palmer. Palmer consistently finds space behind the defensive line to unlock opponents. His vision and passing delivery is well-weighted and precise balls. Palmer stays calm, controls the game with technical skill and sets the pace. Effortlessly spins 360 degrees with the ball. Thanks to his agility, he can receive the ball at any angle, making him technically special and a great outlet. Has everything from rhythm, technical skill, balance, creativity, passing and quick thinking, and he's mentally sharp. He doesn't feel pressure. He didn't score a Premier League goal. Comes to Chelsea for 45 million. Chelsea that had their worst ever season with a lack of stability there. And just shines in a Chelsea side that wasn't good. It's not like he's gone into a Man City side with all the security and balance and environment around him. He went to a Chelsea side, took on the challenge, and he was unreal. I think Pedro Neto will be a very good signing for Chelsea. Not hit the ground running yet, got a goal, got an assist, but he's a very sharp, direct player that I think will be an unbelievable signing for Chelsea. And I think him getting his first goal will be confidence. I think he can run it behind. I think he can cause problems. I think he's probably, someone that's going to be good for Chelsea. I think Sancho could potentially be good for Chelsea as well. Maresca could be the type of guy to unlock him. And I think Madueke, he's inconsistent at his age, but there's definitely a good player there. First for dribble success rate, first for aerial duels won, second for offensive duels won, second for accelerations, third for goals, and third for non-penalty goals, and seventh for XG, showing he's overperforming his XG for wingers in the Premier League this season. But Madueke is one of the most direct dribbler 1v1 wingers. When you're looking at directness 1v1 wingers, he's one of the most direct players and he can make things happen. So I think what Chelsea have right now and going on is super exciting. And I think that Chelsea are playing well. They look good. Their attacking depth is just absolutely crazy ridiculous. And, fair play to them. I think we underestimate them a bit. I think they could get back in the Champions League.